hope everyone can hear me okay. So please feel free during the entire talk, if you have questions or anything like that, you can put it in the comments and I'll totally take some time to respond to questions in the chat at some point during this talk. But hello, everybody. Welcome to Day of Security. This is 3 o'clock Central Time where I'm at right now. I'm in Chicago. I hope you're all having a really nice day. Thank you so much, Lisa, and to all of the organizers of this event, including Kelly. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much to the organizers because this is a labor of love setting up a conference. So thank you all so much. So today I'm going to be talking about how to build a successful security engineering career, as the title states. A little bit of an overview. We're going to talk about me, who I am, why you should listen to me. We're going to talk about the industry today, trends that I've seen, and what are we kind of working with, and then how can we improve the industry as we know it today. Then we're going to talk about career ladder and what it means to go through a career in security or engineering. Security and engineering careers are all kind of similar, except some of the expectations will be a little bit different depending on the roles that you're interested in. So I'm going to be talking a lot about security stuff, but engineering, operations, the career ladders look really similar. Then we're going to talk about leadership and what it means to be a leader versus what it means for someone to become a manager. A lot of engineers are kind of pushed to that management route a little bit before they're ready. So I want to talk to you about that so you can make sure that you make career changes when you think it's appropriate. Then we're going to talk about mentorship. How can you get mentors? What does mentoring mean to you? What are some avenues that you can use in order to not only mentor other people, but also, get the mentorship you need to make sure you can achieve your goals. Then we're going to be talking a little bit about interviews, just like getting a new job. What does that mean? And then, of course, first day on the job. There's a couple pieces of advice that I'll kind of pass along to you as we continue moving forward. So that's what we're going to talk about. The first piece of advice I'm going to give you on this slide is the thing that makes you unique is your superpower. And that's something that I heard last year and has really, really stuck with me. I would probably get that engraved on a necklace or something like that one day because it just really speaks to me a lot. I think when I was younger and spending a lot of my time doing extracurricular activities and maybe there wasn't as much monetary value in the things that I was doing or the things I was expressing interest in, but that didn't mean that it wasn't still unique to me and my personality and the things that I ended up enjoying so much in my life. So the things that make you unique are definitely your superpower. So identify what those things are and kind of head in that path because it'll be a successful path for you. So a little bit about me. Hi, hello. Again, if you have any questions during this whole presentation, please put them in the comments. So a little bit about me. My name is Devina. It's pronounced They, They, Devina. And I have been working as a security professional since 2014. So my career has been about 8 years plus a year of doing an internship co-op. I graduated with a degree in computer science from the University of Illinois in Chicago. Love Chicago. And I got a minor in math during that time. So a lot of math. Haven't used any of it. And today I'm a staff cloud security engineer or a security architect. Those are kind of like similar titles. And I'm also the founder of Davy Labs. Davy Labs is a nonprofit organization that serves the city of Chicago for now. But if you're interested in starting your own Davy Labs chapter near you, please let me know. And basically, we teach women 30 plus, women and gender nonconforming people 30 and plus, how to code. So I teach 2 programming classes today, Python and HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And it's super successful. We've already had our first student taking a boot camp that has then landed them internship opportunities outside. And that was just in the last 6 months. So really trying to help that pipeline problem. I started my own Girls Who Code chapter at UIC while I was there in undergrad, and served there for 7 years, 8 years as a teacher. So I really enjoy teaching. It's my favorite thing. It's definitely my superpower. Hi, everyone. And then I also love doing art. So this is something that after undergrad, I really discovered about myself. I love doing art. I'm going to show you a couple of things as I talk about it. So I do calligraphy, I do pottery. I'll give you my pottery Instagram, or my art Instagram. Y'all can follow me if you want to. But yeah, I make cute little pots and things. I made a little teapot. It's got bunnies on it. Isn't that cute? It's cute. They're sleeping. I am on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at the Ulzo, but TheUlzo. But I'm like really not a Twitter person. I'm more of an Instagram person. So you can follow Davy Labs on Instagram, and you can follow Davy.calligraphy on Instagram. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Yay. Yeah, please check out my art. You're all so sweet. So I also am a cat and bunny mom. I have 2 cats and 2 rabbits in my house. So I'm obsessed. Okay, so let's talk about the industry as we know it today. Women and gender nonconforming people, GNC, make up about 11% of the industry, which is very sad after you just saw a bunch of pottery, I know. That's a very small part of the pie, and there's a few different reasons for that. There is clearly an image issue in the world of technology. Young students don't really know security exists, and adults don't really realize it's not like NCIS and you're not like hacking away like a mad hacker or something, or it's not mostly crime as well. And then, there's obviously a retention related issue. I can tell you that I feel that way, especially as someone who's been in the industry for a long time. I feel it's difficult, and I don't feel particularly supported at the companies that I end up working at either. So there's definitely there's a lack of support. There's a lack of women in general, which doesn't really help the retention, because you don't really have like a support system to rely on. And imposter syndrome is huge. Not only so there's a great article by Forbes on retention that I've linked in these slides. I'll put them up on Twitter. I'll put them up on my LinkedIn as well, so you can have a copy of my slides. And so the article is great. It talks about why it's difficult to retain women. Women are often paid less. If you're not being paid appropriately, let's talk about negotiation, because I think that's always really fun. I negotiate for every single salary I have a lot, because I know once you make a specific salary, you can only go up from there, so make sure you fight for your salary. And then women are typically, okay, great, amazing. Size will be in Slack as well. I love that. So women are often also promoted less. If you decide you want to have a family, that does take quite a toll on your career sometimes. And I will tell you, Davy Labs and the work that I'm doing with Davy Labs is going to be trying to solve some of these problems. So I think women are really only going to be able to solve these problems by ourselves. We can't really have anyone design companies with us in mind. We're going to have to design companies with us in mind. So that's just my little 2 cents as far as that's concerned. But imposter syndrome is also something that's huge. When other people in the room don't look like you, there's a lot of anxiety that can trick us into thinking we don't belong on a particular team. There's a lot of anxiety that can make you feel like I don't belong in this job or in this entire field altogether because security people don't look like me. And this anxiety can look like imposter syndrome, because you're basically feeling like, oh, they're going to think I'm a fraud. But what's actually happening, in my opinion, is it's a form of loneliness. You start to feel really lonely, that, you don't have anyone you can connect to and you connect with. And you just feel like, oh, I'm just going to be here alone forever. And I know that's not true because, we have more and more women graduating with computer science degrees, but it's been like this for decades now. So that can be quite challenging. And we are also so easily falling into thankless task traps. And that's a difficult thing to say 3 times fast, right? Thankless task trap, thankless task trap, thankless task trap. And basically, what is a thankless task trap? It's something that we do regardless of whether or not it's needed specifically to be done by you. Like it's basically a task. It doesn't have to be done by you, but you will end up taking it on so much of the time because no one else will take it on. So this is kind of like secretarial tasks, for example. So like if you're in a meeting and there needs to be notes taken, you'll just kind of volunteer to take notes because you're always the one who volunteers to take notes, or someone volunteers you because you're so organized and you type so quickly. So these sorts of like thankless tasks can kind of come up when you are ending up having to do program or project management for your team. And when you end up having to do project program management for your team, you're not doing technical work. So really what I want to instill in you today is, and if there's something that you take away from this, I'm going to tell you, like, focus on your technical acumen, focus on your technical skill sets, because in the industry today, that's really been what's going to help you get to that next step in your career. It's not going to be these thankless tasks. If you're an organized person, that's great. You organize your project. You organize, unless you're a manager, you organize your stuff in a way that's going to make sure you get your OKRs met every single quarter, and that's going to continue keeping you growing. If you can mentor other people on your team as well to continue doing that stuff, that's also fantastic. But you don't need to be doing a lot of these thankless tasks. You don't need to do it, because it's going to hinder your career as you move forward. They're going to be tasks. These are going to be things that you pour your energy into, and they're not going to result in a promotion. In fact, you're probably going to get told, hey, you're not doing enough. So keep doing technical work. Okay. How can you improve the industry today? So in my opinion, there not being enough women is not necessarily just the issue. There's a lot of issues here. Not having the appropriate support groups, not having the mentorship that's required, not prioritizing including more women, and then supporting these sorts of programs. So something that's really important to me is programs like Girls Who Code. So 12 to 18-year-old girls can learn how to code and learn security stuff. Baby Labs, again, is a nonprofit that is teaching women how to code today, and will be teaching security classes as we move forward. Cyber DEI is so amazing. It's such a great group of people. It's a nonprofit organization. I should have linked it in here, but you can look them up on Google. And it's a great Slack group where you can, get help with your resume. It's kind of like a nice little industry diversity, equity, and inclusion group for security folks. So another great security group to follow. As far as imposter syndrome is concerned, Lily Singh does this great TED Talk on imposter syndrome. I would highly recommend checking it out, because now, again, I've spent about 9 years in the security industry. The loneliness of the imposter syndrome has become so exhausting. Coupling that with like a global pandemic, you don't have time to think about retention. You're just like, can I just be happy doing something else, So I want you to be less anxious. I want you to feel less lonely. So definitely find community out there, because that's where you're going to find folks to help mentor you and things like that. Then let's talk about thankless task traps. So thankless tasks, when you end up having to do them, let's say you're acting as a PM now for your team, how do you get out of that? Somebody asked, how do you get more technical projects, this is something you have to work out with your manager. And these are proposals that you should get comfortable with writing. So as you grow in your career, you're going to be having to write a lot of proposals for like creating a new project, so that and that's how you're going to grow your technical acumen. You're going to have to discover like, oh, these are the different components that make a successful project. These are the different avenues that I have to. So they're big, huge milestones that you have to cover. And we can talk more about like, oh, how do you design a project and stuff like that, maybe in a later talk. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about mentorship. Mentorship can happen within a workplace. It can happen inside of a team. It can be old or new professors. And 87% of mentors and mentees say that their mentor relationships make them feel more empowered and assist them with developing more confidence in themselves. And I totally agree with that. When someone lifts me up, it makes me feel really great. And it makes me feel like I can, do more. 97% of individuals with a mentor feel like they're highly impactful and valuable, but only 37% of professionals actually have a mentor. So make sure that when you are talking to people, you're going through networking, you reach out to people and you say, hey, can I get 30 minutes of your time on your calendar? And then be sure to continue to follow up with people. When you become more senior in your career, you start thinking about more things. So you want to make sure that as a mentee, you're also kind of reaching out, making sure you're staying persistent so that the other person understands like, hey, I understand your time is really valuable. Please spend some time with me to talk to me about my career. And women are especially like super happy to do that. So it's all good. Even on LinkedIn, like have a little message that says, hey, I'm new to security. Can you please like help me with my career? And I have questions. Feel free to message people on LinkedIn and check in with people at conferences, especially when they're physical. There's a Women in Cybersecurity organization you can join, and they have a conference every year, and Women Who Code also has an organization where they do mentorship specifically, which is going to be super helpful for you. And I'm sure Day of Security will have like a little mentorship channel that you can join too. Find yourself a mentor because it's really going to keep you happy. And maybe this is the advice I need to be following for myself, is I need to find myself a little mentor. So if you want to mentor me, hit me up. So yeah, building a career, you can build a career using the cybersecurity guide that I just linked if you're like super new. There's also, again, Cyber DEI, Davy Labs, Girls Who Code. That's going to help you like break through. You're going to have colleges, community colleges might be right for you if you have an interest in security. And then, of course, I see some folks are really asking about like whether or not you need a degree. It's so hard because there are some positions that really do require a degree. But I've also seen people go pretty far with a boot camp or with certifications. So I think it does depend on, what you end up joining. And there's so many different ways that you can break through. And I know that security just in general has kind of this issue because so many security jobs are like senior security engineering jobs. So you might be wondering, like, what is the difference between a senior security engineer and a regular security engineer? So if we talk about career ladder, it looks really different when you go from company to company. Typically, you have something like a model where you have apprentices or interns, then you have junior engineers, and then you have engineers, senior engineers, staff or architecture engineers, principal engineers, and then fellows. In the slides, they're also listed there. So software engineers is kind of similar. So you have software engineer 1, which is going to be kind of like either your intern or junior engineer. Then you have your software engineer 2, which is like your engineer. Software engineering 3, which is your senior engineer. Well, that's on the other side actually, because that links up with the management track of manager. So senior engineer is the same thing as a manager and like at the same level, quote unquote. And then staff engineer is the same as a senior manager. And then a principal engineer is the same thing as a director. And a fellow is the same as a VP. So you can be an engineer and you can go through that whole track without having done any people management and owning so much technical leadership, it's like not even funny. You can work on some really, really cool projects. So how does this all work? Is that the career ladder for engineering track became popularized by companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon because there are so many folks who really want to grow as engineers and work on projects that have a larger and larger scope. So when you're a junior engineer, you're working on stuff where it's just impacting your team, and you maybe have a lead, like a tech lead, that's telling you what it is that you need to do on a regular basis. As you become an engineer, you start working on larger components of those same projects, but you still have like some kind of lead or manager that's telling you what to do to make sure that you're successful on a particular project. Once you get to staff level engineering, you are impacting the scope. The scope increases significantly. So on a junior engineer, the scope is your team or yourself or your project. Then you have, as an engineer, the scope of an engineer is to focus on a project that will impact their team. Then a senior engineer will be working on projects that are cross team. So you're working on a project that impacts you, and then it also impacts another part of the organization. And then a staff level engineer is working on projects that are going to impact the entirety of the organization. So that's huge. The jump between working on from, a couple of teams to working on something that touches every single individual at a company, that's huge. Or a huge part of a product, like leading a huge part of a product. And then you have principal engineers or fellow engineers, and they're like VP level. So director and VP level. Excuse me. So what they're doing is they're actually informing the industry. They're changing the way that the industry views security and security related problems, and they influence that. So you can kind of tell like how your career will grow over time. And I've linked some resources here for different career ladders that you'll see. The Duo one, there's a practitioner's career paths, and then the Dropbox career ladder that's there. So there you'll get a better idea of like what are the roles and expectations for every single piece. And one quick thing I wanted to talk about is it's really, I heard this from one of my mentors, and she said that as a security engineer, period, you are an architect. At every single stage of your career ladder, you are architecting, designing, creating, and organizing how networks are going to be laid out in your internal environment, how bug bounty programs are going to be operated in your environment. So you're going to be doing a lot of architecting. So figuring out how to do architecture and proper design and threat modeling, that's going to be important for your entire career if you're taking notes out there around things to study. So leadership does not equal management. I learned that. You can lead as a tech lead by doing project management, creating milestones, creating work streams. So basically you can have like one project has 3 work streams that can work simultaneously. And how do you design your project so that you can get everything done? You have to make quick and educated decisions all the time as a leader, regardless of whether you're a people manager or whether you're a tech lead. You're going to be making a lot of quick decisions. And you have to be investigative. Like you have to want to dig deeper. You have to want to like ask questions and discover more. But from a management perspective, you need things like business acumen. You need to be able to say like, what are the business's needs? And how am I able to like give that to them with my engineering ICs? IC means individual contributor. Then you have compliance and regulation that you'll need to know. And then if you're a lead, if you're a manager on a security team, it's on you if there is a giant security incident. That stuff makes me so nervous. Like if I was to be like the top person, I'm sure I'll be able to handle it. But at the end of the day, like the shoe drops at your feet. So you better make sure that you are able to be well and calm under crisis. And then we're almost out of time, so I just wanted to mention, like, what are some, like, how do you figure out if a company that you want to work for is a great company to work for? Well, here are some things that you're going to want to, if you want to, sorry, I was just checking in on time. Um, if you want to figure out like what's a good company for you, you want to talk to their manager. You want to talk to like whoever your future manager is going to be. You want to make sure that you're going to jive well with them, because that's one of the big reasons why I've left jobs in the past. There's like three reasons. One, you're not finding the work to be fulfilling. Two, you don't really find the pay to be equitable or something that you think is worthwhile. Or three, you have a mediocre manager or terrible manager. So make sure that whoever your manager is going to be, that you know, kind of jive with them, even though they could change over time. And you want to find out what the company's values are. I'm in a stage of interviewing today, so if you're looking for a staff security engineer, hit me up. But I asked like maybe like 20 companies about their DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Only one company was actually able to give me a publicly available link of their DEI initiatives. Shout out to Clever is the name of the company, not Cleaver, not it's a knife, I think. Okay. So you're going to want to figure out, or there's no progression on the job. Exactly. So you're not finding the job satisfying. So companies that have existing, like, that have, Jorley, hi. How can you ask for more technical projects? What I would recommend as far as asking for technical projects is, if you think there is a need for a technical project, write a project proposal. So say, this is what the problem is. This is how I think, and to completely detail out what the problem is. Don't worry about the solution to the problem. That'll come later. But if you want to figure out how to take on a technical project, you have to first figure out what is the problem that the technical project is trying to solve, and who are going to be the stakeholders that are going to need to be involved in that decision making. What are all of the different variables that you need to consider when you're trying to create this new project? So the only advice I can give is like asking more for more is, first ask for more and say, hey, I want to learn more. I want to dig deeper. But number two, the thing that your manager is 100% going to ask you is, hey, do you have a proposal for a project? If you have a proposal, then hey, we can cover that. You know what I mean? So I hope that answers your question. Talk to women at the company that you want to work at. So they might put it in your, like as you're interviewing as part of your panel, but definitely if there are women in your LinkedIn network that have worked at that company, that are currently working at that company, definitely take some time out of their calendar to make sure that this is a company you want to be working at. And then the last thing I wanted to say is interviewing. When you're interviewing, you're going to need to learn how to code. I've seen a huge transition in the industry, from people not necessarily needing to know how to code, but even people at my level, like having to learn how to code, even though I don't typically code in my job. Like I do maybe 30% of the time. And you still have to go through the programming interview. So Cracking the Coding Interview is such an amazing book. Highly recommend it. And then when you get to the first day on your job, make sure you find a community for yourself. Who, not how. Always remember that. You can always find humans who can kind of help you on a task, or help you, find community and build community, so you don't have to do everything by yourself. And then you want to document beginner lessons so that new folks who join the team will have an easier time. And then it's going to be really hard for you to be working on your first few tasks when you join that company. So you want to be in a position where you should write down all of the difficult tasks that you're having a difficult time working through, so that as you work through them, you can put like, I started working on this task and I literally thought I would never be able to accomplish it. And then I put it on my wall. I say like, okay, this is the task. I thought I never would be able to accomplish it. This is when I started working on it. And then once I finish working on it, I put an end date. And I do that for all of those tasks. Sorry, I'm almost out of time. Where do you start to learn how to code? CoderPad and there's another one. It's like Leet Code or something like that. These are two websites you can use that give you programming questions that you have to go solve. So I would recommend those. And then, yes, as Lisa just mentioned, I am on Slack. So please, please, please message me on Slack if you need anything. You can also message me on LinkedIn if you need anything. I don't know if we have any more time for questions or if I'm going to get kicked out. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. And thank you, Lisa, for coordinating.